My name is Frank Trezza. I'm a senior security engineer at a Fortune 500 energy company at my day job. On the side, I have a podcast I do on Mondays on Iron Geek's YouTube channel. I got into conferences thanks to Adrian. One of the early things I did to get into conferences for free was volunteering to do AV stuff, man. And it kind of blew me away, like the knowledge of some of these speakers. And I'm really humbled to be here as a speaker today because I really looked up to speakers growing up, and I volunteered at conferences and got to meet speakers backstage sometimes and talk with them about their stuff before they'd present. And now I'm up here and it's just really freaking awesome. And I just want to say thank you for letting me come and talk about some of the stupid shit I've done over the years. I don't think too many conferences would accept this particular talk, so I'm really awesome, dude. Also, some shout outs. Last night, my dumbass lived up to my handle of havoc because I'm chaotic and I lose shit all the time. And these wonderful people, some of them being locals, helped me go find my laptop that I left at a bar we were hanging out at. And then they brought me chicken nuggets after, made sure I got back to my hotel safe. So these dudes are awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm dedicating my talk to this dude from my hometown who's a hometown hero, Michael Kiefer. This dude, since he was a little kid, knew he wanted to be a firefighter in New York City. So he spent his whole life working towards that goal. And as a probationary firefighter, died on 9/11. Really close friends with his sister. And just somebody I look up to my whole life, that he never gave up when he was faced with any challenge. He had a motto, adapt and overcome. So I apply that to my own life. And when I'm hit with a brick wall, I just keep moving forward. And it's pretty freaking awesome. And also, if I'm boring, feel free to just look at the memes because I put a lot of them in here. Also, shout out to the AV crew, man. Thank you guys so much for recording this and all the hard work you guys do. Freaking awesome people, man. So I have a podcast also. This is the obligatory Who Am I slide. It's called Counter Surveil. It's Mondays on Iron Geek. And I have a bunch of useless certifications like Certified Ethical Hacker that don't prove shit that I know anything, but I am pretty good at pen testing outside of this. Pretty proud of a test I did recently and all this fun stuff, but we're not talking about that today. We're talking about when I sneak into security conferences and other conferences. So let's get the ball rolling. So we're going to cover a couple of different things, and I'm going to break it up with some stories because who the heck wants to just listen to somebody talk about social engineering for half an hour? First off, this is me at AWS Reinvent in December this past year. I made a badge and I got a little ballsy this time, and my badge said Dave Kennedy on it, and it was a little scan of the event badge, which got me in all day, and I talked to a bunch of people, and I gave out Dave's email to a bunch of vendors just for the lulz. So the basics of social engineering: look the part, act the part, be confident. Try not to draw too much attention to yourself unless you're intentionally going high vis. Don't brag about it. Don't post it on social media. Don't be a jerk. It's kind of like the golden rule. And number 8 is the rule I decided to break, which is don't give a talk about it unless you lose a bet. Well, I lost a bet. And my friend was like, dude, there's no way you can get a talk in any conference with the title of sneaking my way into security conferences. So I submitted it and they accepted it, and I'm here. And we're going to talk about some of the stupid shit I've done over the years. Impersonation involves posing as a staff member. This is not something you should do unless you've actually been doing social engineering for a while and know how to do it, because you're going to get caught pretty fast, and a lot of these conferences have very close-knit security staff. So if you're going to do this one, at least do your research first. Tailgating, it's not going to work when they have cool badges, but if you have a fake one, one that's easy to copy. Making badges, there's hacker arts and crafts is a thing, man. So I was honored when 2016, I'm coming out to FedCon. I didn't really know too many people who were going to be there that year. And some people from a Facebook group I was in were all hanging out in their hotel room doing hacker arts and crafts, making the black hat badge. And then the only unique identifying thing that year on the black hat badge was that there was that got loud, a little holographic piece of tape on the top, and it had the black hat logo cut out of it with a cutter thing. So they're there with that tape that they bought on Amazon, which is called like bird tape. And they're cutting out the Black Hat logo from a stencil they made and making like fake Black Hat badges. And I was like, dude, that is the coolest shit ever. So from there, I kind of got better at doing just that myself. And for years, I've been just kind of like going to security conferences and other conferences, mind you, because I lived in Vegas for 2 years and they have tons of conferences there. And I go in and just shoot the shit. I'd hang out with people. I'd talk about things with different people in different industries and just like learn about different stuff because I like to learn hands-on, and like talking to people who do something for a living is how I learn. Forged credentials are a thing. I'm sure some of you here certainly would never wear a fake badge to a conference. That'd be a big no-no, right? But it is a thing. So this chick right here is Aloria. She's like was the chief cat herder at the first security conference I started pulling this bullshit at. And I decided to show up to SummerCon wearing a security guard outfit to see if I could get in. Unfortunately, the real security guard was about an hour late. And I'd been playing security guard for about an hour before they showed up. And then she was pretty cool about it. She's like, look, I don't care that you're not the real security guard, but I need them to go help out over by the bar to keep that like working. Would you mind working the door? And I started volunteering at SummerCon, like every year, working the door and just checking the list. And like, dude, I was so humbled one time, like Mudge is there. And I didn't know what Mudge looked like outside of the pictures with the long hair. And he's like, chick, he gives me his real name and it's like Peter Zaptko, but spelled weird. And I didn't know that's his real name. So I'm like checking the list. I'm like, sorry, dude, you're not on the list. You're gonna have to wait in the corner. And he's like, can you check my other name? I'm like, sure. He's like, Mudge. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know who you were. Go in, sir. It was pretty freaking cool, though. And I got to hang out with the vendors, which a lot of them are arguably cool people. And the speakers, like before they go on stage, I get to go in the back room and like talk to them about what their talk was going to be. And I get to see them like updating their slides last minute and tossing memes in like I was just doing, which is just like so freaking cool, man. So one legitimate way to get in is just volunteer your time. They're not going to make you work the whole conference for the most part, and you'll get to go see some talks and meet some cool people. If you're going to be faking it and like make a fake vendor badge, don't go hang out in the vendor area where said vendor is unless you are a really good bullshit artist. I have done this and convinced people that I work for their company and that I just came out on my own dime. I don't recommend having to do it on the fly. It is spinning a web of bullshit on the fly. It's not something you want to do. You want to have a good pretext. This is me at DEF CON wearing a Goon t-shirt one year. I'm not going to say how I got that. I do fake being a goon sometimes. I know it's a big no-no, and but I'll talk about that a little bit more later. This is one year where I was not really wearing a really good goon shirt. I was wearing a shirt from a nonprofit I volunteer at, but I replaced the top part with a sticker. And it's a red shirt. And I was walking around the vendor area before DEF CON started and met the dudes with the snacky vending machine, same dudes who used to make the badge. And they gave me like a vendor badge and like a watch that was in the snacky machine that year. And that was really freaking cool, man. Like, so sometimes you do get to meet some cool people doing this. That's Jones Beach on the bottom left. That's one of the first places I started sneaking into when I was a kid. Their security was fairly lax to begin with. A lot of cool events happen there. So I would wear a high-vis vest and carry like some cups of coffee in. And I'd be carrying a ladder at one point, which was when I first started before I realized it's really a pain in the ass to carry even a little ladder back and forth to Jones Beach. So I worked it out, and eventually I would just kind of walk in wearing a high-vis vest. They're always having construction at this place anyway. So I walk in with some coffee cups and hot coffee, wearing a high-vis vest, just giving them out to security guards. And nobody asked why the heck I was there. And I go see a bunch of free concerts. And, I really loved that shit. It was a good introduction to this world before I even knew the terminology. And, one time, Kevin Mitnick was going to be in Manhattan. So I was like, dude, I want to go meet Kevin Mitnick, but I'm not paying like $5,000 to get into this cyber investing summit. So I reached out to the person who ran the thing, and I'm like, I'm a reporter for 2600 magazine. Now, mind you, they don't have reporters at 2600 magazine. It's like user submitted stuff. And I'd like to meet with Kevin Mitnick. And they're like, yeah, we'll arrange it. So I showed up and I got to interview the guy. And that was pretty freaking cool. But I was so nervous that I could even barely get my questions right.
Hi, I'm Frank Trezza here with Kevin Mitnick for 2600 Magazine. I just have a few questions for you today, Kevin.
Sure.
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. You gave a great presentation today, showed off a lot of hacking magic tricks. What would you say?
Kind of simple stuff.
Yeah. Well, I
To the business audience, it's interesting. To us, it's like no, this is not rocket science.
Yeah. The Proxmark III master key, I heard, had actually been leaked. That's the first thing I just wanted to bring up.
Wait, the Proxmark.
I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm kind of nervous meeting you, so I apologize. The I-Class master key for the SE class series had been leaked.
Correct.
Is it possible to write a card with that if you have a Proxmark 3?
Well, it depends because you have the standard key and then you have I-Class Elite.
This goes on for 11 minutes. I'm not going to subject all of you to it. But
Usually a third.
this was a learning experience for me that if you're going to pretext, you better be damn good at what you're pretexting as. Because I was pretending to be a journalist from a magazine that I read and arguably go to the Hangouts. I was so nervous meeting this guy, I couldn't remember what I had literally written right in front of me in a notebook. I dropped the notebook at one point. Like, all my stuff fell out. It was embarrassing. But I got to meet Kevin, and that was pretty cool. And I got his agent's business card, which I used later that year when I went to Black Hat, and I put just a lanyard with his agent's business card and walked right in, and nobody stopped me. And then went to the vendor area and was drinking free champagne with the press people. And then I walked over to Kevin, who was signing books, and he looked down and saw what I did, and he just kind of smirked. And he seemed perfectly okay with it. And he's like, so you want any more copies of the book, for back at the office? I'm like, no, we're good on stock, man. He's like, it's just like, it was great, man. It was such a freaking thrill for me. Like they say, don't meet your heroes, but like, he kind of didn't disappoint. Other people in the industry, rock stars, have over the years, but like, it was so cool to be able to freaking meet Kevin Mitnick, dude. Ethical considerations for when you're doing this stuff, right? It is a bit dishonest, right? If you're not comfortable with lying or coming up with stories on the fly, it's probably something you should practice before you try it. It can impact legitimate attendees. An unauthorized attendee could negatively impact their experience. They could cause problems. If you are going to do this, don't be a jackass and make problems. You could also get in legal trouble. Now, I've never had any actual police involvement, but getting trespassed from a place I like to go kind of sucked. You can get in trouble. You can get kicked out of conferences. They can put your name on a list, don't let this person in. So you got to be careful. It's not necessarily how people think it is. It's not always fun. Sometimes it's really freaking stressful doing this. Can cause reputational damage. People get a bad rep. Your rep is everything in this industry. So you got to represent if you are going to do this and not be a jackass. Here's a little why you should pay section. So first off, when you're paying to get into a conference, you're going to get your swag bag. You're going to get the full access to conference offerings, good networking opportunities without being stressed out. I might get caught. So it can be very valuable. Also, your employer might just cover it if you have a decent employer. Some pay for you to go to conferences. Some have education budgets. Always check. Maybe you can get in for free and actually have the conference get compensated. Why we do it? The psychology of the thrill, man. It's a lot of fun to do this kind of stuff. And it makes for good stories. Now, arguably, there are a lot better storytellers than me for this kind of stuff. I love listening to Jason Street talk about the time he robbed the wrong bank. There are so many great freaking things out there online, free content with people who have given really awesome talks over the years. Arguably, I've been doing this at small conferences for 2 years, talking about things like NFC business card, stupid tricks, and you know, it's fun to do it legitimately as a speaker, and it is cool to get respect for it. But I really do respect those who came before, and like I'm completely mind blown when I get to meet really cool people and hear what they do for a living, hear their stories at conferences. Like the LobbyCon stuff is some of the most valuable stuff I've gotten out of security conferences, and the connections I made just shooting the shit with people, like going out for a beer after a conference. So like some of my best friends I met because of that, like going to the Circle Bar at DEF CON, hanging out with goons and stuff is, it's really freaking cool. And this is Nina. She runs the biohacking village at DEF CON, but I didn't know that when I was volunteering at SummerCon. And that's me wearing a security guard t-shirt that year when I did that. And then they let me volunteer and do the door. You know, it was like, look at me, I'm the security now. But dude, it's so freaking humbling, like when you get away with it. And people are cool. It can be stressful. Dude, 2016 at DEF CON, I did not follow the 3-2-1 rule. And 2017 at DEF CON, I certainly didn't follow the 3-2-1 rule. And I paid the price, man. It was not great, but you got to get like 3 hours of sleep minimum at these things, two square meals a day, and take a shower. You know, it's like, this is a stupid little video I put together from when I was hanging out with this goon I met at DEF CON, Sledge, who I also now do a podcast with. And he goes around DEF CON with a rubber chicken on his back of his bag and a 3D printed mallet. And he's like, hey, do you want to bang my cock? So I present to you the world premiere of Bang My Cock, the music video, thanks to Suno AI and really shitty video editing skills. Mind you, this whole time I was wearing a goon shirt and a goon hat, and nobody questioned that I was not a goon. So I'd hang out with them. It goes on like this for another 2.5 minutes. Now I'm free to skip it. You guys are over it already. I know I'm not the rest that video editing might do. But dude, it was so fun. And like that guy was great right there. Out of all the people at this conference, that guy was the one who's like, how come you're wearing a blue badge, but it says goon on your lanyard? But nobody in the SOC thought to ask me that, which was kind of funny. So like, dude, it was, I actually volunteer at DEF CON at HDA. So I get line cutting privileges, which is kind of neat. So like people come in with a wheelchair, whatever. I make sure they get to their talk. That's like new in the last 2 years. Me and my friend Delchai do that. And this year I decided to do a little privilege escalation and some lateral movement at DEF CON by hanging out in the SOC wearing a goon t-shirt and seeing how long I could get away with it and name dropping random people and trying to insert myself in stories I'd heard over the years. And I didn't get caught, which was pretty cool. But Mark Rogers would probably be pretty pissed if he thought I was bragging about it. One stupid thing I did at DEF CON that probably should have gotten me kicked out, and if I were working security, I would have kicked me out, was I decided to use a high-vis vest and a little cable tester to cut that like 4-hour line one year to go buy your ticket before they took the credit cards. And I literally just put on the vest while I was in line. I go to people in front of me. I'm like, dude, I'm going to try and cut the line, but if this doesn't work, can you save my spot? Because I don't want to go all the way to the back again. And I just put on the vest with a cable tester and like walked to the front of the line and bought my DEF CON pass. And like a goon came up and I'm like, oh crap, I'm caught. And he all he says is like, can you please not stand behind this line right here? It's like a little like standing to the side. And I was like, I thought I was burnt and I wasn't. And I was like, yeah, man, no problem. Paid for my stuff and left. And it was so cool, man. Like, anyhow, some things that other people do, RFID cloning and QR code copying. In short, a Flipper Zero, Proxmark 3, and you're pretty much set with that kind of stuff if you like learn what you're doing ahead of time. Given I've never needed to actually have a working QR code at a conference or a working NFC, if you just like avoid certain areas and know like where to go, you're never like going to get that thing scanned unless you go to the vendor area and they want to get your contact info at most conferences. Exploiting Wi-Fi is something I did when I was younger that was really stupid. Don't recommend trying to make it so that they can't check your badge, because you're just screwing around with Wi-Fi for everybody who might be at the said conference when they have a conference Wi-Fi, and they make them pay for that at some places. So don't do that, because it's just a dick move. Prep and recon is kind of essential when you're doing this. One of the stupid things I'm doing lately is I go on Twitter before a conference actually starts and look at all the people who got their badge ahead of time and posted like really good pictures of it for me. And then I go and copy said thing and go to the conference. Sometimes I pay. Most of the time, arguably nowadays I pay, but when I couldn't afford to go to conferences, I had to do sketchy shit to be able to get in. So ethical considerations, right? I kind of covered this shit already, but there are real risks. So like, if you're going to do this and you're going to go to specifically a security conference, do your recon first. Learn who's going to be there. Don't just show up last minute and hope you're going to make a badge that's going to work. Like, put your assets aside first. Get like the logo, like get everything on a transparent background, ready to make a fake badge. Like get Photoshop skills or at least paint.net and like make some templates, and like saves you a lot of time when you're actually going to be on site. Also, don't recommend lugging a like 3D card print. 3D is the wrong word. An ID card printer around like I do. It is bulky. Now I found a little Kodak thing called, forgot the name of it, but the gist of it is fits in my pocket and it will print a really good sticker. And that same sticker is about the size of an ID card, a little bit smaller. But when you stick that on an actual ID card, most of the time it's good enough to get through stuff without needing to actually carry a big ID card printer around. I also have a little scanning wand. I use that to scan actual people's badges sometimes when they're okay for that, and then make really high quality copies. So some story time. As a result of volunteering at SummerCon, Chris Nickerson invited me to a really cool party at DEF CON. I got to go and like hang out with these really cool people I admired for like a lot of my young adult life. And like Kevin Mitnick's in this room, Dave Kennedy's in this room. They're like all these really cool speakers who are giving talks at Black Hat and DEF CON, like people I admire. And that year I was really into Jason Street because I admired his social engineering prowess. And so I was carrying a thing of like Diet Coke around in case I met him just to make the joke. And then I got really thirsty and I'm like hanging out. I'm sitting in like the penthouse suite. And they're like some dude going over his talk he's going to give and showing the really cool stuff he's not going to say in his talk. And I go to open this Diet Pepsi in front of everybody and the thing explodes all over me. And now I'm just kind of sitting there and like Kevin Mitnick like looks back again, looks down at me and just kind of smirks. Like it looks like I pissed my pants. And, you know, people were super cool and like didn't say shit about it, but I was so freaking embarrassed. And I'm like, I got invited to this cool freaking party and I have now, looks like I wet my pants here, man. It's like freaking great. Another time I was trying to sneak into the B-Sides pool party and I met the guy who actually puts that on here this year, And I was just waiting outside because like I did not have the foresight to sign up for this and get in the right way. So waiting for somebody to come out and like, just be like, hey man, can I have your little token and get in there? And arguably somebody came out and just handed it to me without me even asking. And I got to go to that, and that was pretty cool. I stuck into a bunch of other DEF CON parties like Telefreak and stuff because at one point me and Andy Strutt were not getting along and he was running it. So I had to sneak in that year to get passed into it. And that was kind of cool. Like in general, a lot of it is just being confident and acting like you belong. Just like any other social engineering talk like that people give, if you act the part and look the part and like you look like you belong, and like, you're not really going to get challenged when you do this stupid shit. You might sometimes have a guy on a paro trip who like will really go off on like a fake badge or something. But a lot of the times, like, at least in my experience, people have been super cool when they even figure out I'm using a fake badge, that I put in the effort to make one and just let me stay. Like, I've only once gotten trespassed, and that was arguably not even at an InfoSec conference. It's just at a place that also holds those. And that was MJBizCon in Nevada, where I really didn't put much effort into my badge that year. Like, I looked at what it looked like on Twitter, and I got it a little wrong. I had reversed, like, picture was on the top left, I put it on the top right, so my badge looked a little different than everybody else's. And but I got some really cool stuff from vendors, like free edibles, free everything that they give out to people who are going to buy that stuff. And I met somebody who wanted a pen test there, who was like selling magic mushroom spores, and I actually got like work out of it, which was really cool. He's like, I run a WordPress, man, and I don't know how to secure it. Can you like do a security scan? And I'm like, yeah, dude. I ran WP scan and burp on his stuff, and he wrote me a nice letter for my CEH credits, which made a little money on it too. But like, it's so cool to make connections with people when you're doing this stuff. And genuinely, like, it has been some of the most fun I've had at conferences, just sneaking in to see if I can get away with stuff. And also the connections I make doing that. It's really been invaluable to me. So while I will give you the don't do it, like lecture, like, and if you are going to do it, don't be a jerk. Dude, it's so much fun. You should try it if you think you can do it. It's like, it's a lot of fun. And dude, like, I met such cool people through doing this. Like, the podcast I do on Monday nights called Counter Surveil is mostly people I met at security conferences, people I'd go out drinking with after, and we just shoot the shit live on Adrian Crenshaw's channel and talk about stuff that like we talk about at Circle Bar at DEF CON. And frankly, if any of you guys ever want to be on it, just hit me up too, because I freaking love it and it's so much fun. But I bet there are some people in the audience who probably have some questions, comments, feedback, or actually even some really cool stories themselves they'd like to share. So I'd like to open it up for anybody who's got any of those things right now, because go ahead. And I also have other stories I just couldn't remember, but go ahead, ask.
What's like the latest thing you did, the most recent thing you did?
So I went out to Miami to do this thing called Counterparty. Counterparty is like a blockchain project thing, and my friend Nathan invited me to go talk at and do like a social engineering panel. I get there the night before, and we're going to stay at the event organizer's house, Tatiana, just to crash there and save money on a hotel. And she lets me know, like, the venue fell through last minute. They have nobody to run AV because the venue is going to be handling it. And they now have no master of ceremonies because that guy just got invited to go to do some bullshit with Elon Musk. So they're like, we have no keynote speaker, no venue. And it's like, me and Nathan used to do this thing where like, we're going to do our own DEF CON, but it didn't work out very well. And we called it like Security Mindset Reset at first, and then Crypto Shit Show. And like, I was like, this is going to be another crypto shit show. It was like last minute everything. But those skills did come in handy because we secured a venue last minute. Tatiana's boyfriend was part of like a co-working place for Bitcoin bros, and they let us use their space for some money. We got the AV set up, and arguably I did not do the greatest job running AV at this thing when all I had was like on my bag and like using my StreamYard account. But we had like 3,000 people watching it live, and I was like emceeing the event and live streaming it to both Adrian's channel and like some journalist guy, Chris Don, who does the Rundown Lives channel. And it was like really freaking cool because just by I wasn't intentionally, I was just going there to be a speaker, but I became like the MC and also the guy doing AV. And then they just introduced me as the master of ceremonies. And like, I was introducing people all day long, and like, I would literally read their bio, and then a minute later be like, hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce a real good friend of mine who I met a minute ago. And just like, dude, it was so cool. And like, that was all on the fly stuff. And I also got to be a big help to them by volunteering to do this nonsense, because they had all these people who wanted to watch it live, but nobody knew how to run the AV to make that happen. And I had some experience because I used to volunteer doing AV stuff with Adrian Crenshaw and going to conferences to get in for free, just like I volunteered with Tool to get in the conferences for free. Even though I'm a really shitty lock picker, I'm okay at teaching it, you know? So that's the most recent thing I did. I actually was there like a week before this in Miami, and then hung out in Philly for a bit and came here.
So, obviously, the Kevin Mitnick thing was one of your most nerve-wracking things, but putting that one aside, what would be the most nervous time, or which con were you at where you were the most nervous of being caught?
Oof. That's a good question, man. Probably DEF CON 2017, dude. I was not following the 3-2-1 rule, and I'd been up for like 3 nights, and I had been trying to do this thing where I organized a concert with this chick. I saw it on Reddit, this chick, Holly Maniotti, who did like interpretive sign language dance shit. And I was like, that's really fucking cool. So I reached out to her, and I reached out to David from Dual Core. And I'm like, dude, if I can get this sign language chick out to DEF CON somehow, would it be cool if she did like sign language dancing shit to your talk? And he's like, yeah, man, if you can make it happen and pay for it. So then I reached out to like Dave Kennedy, who I really didn't know other than Facebook shit posting. And I'm like, dude, can you help sponsor make this happen? And he like gave us money to do that. And then there was all this interfacing with the DEF CON people who were pissed that they hadn't been included from the get-go. And like I made that shit happen while I was like up for 3 days, and like really arguably stressed. And like I kind of lost my shit after that at DEF CON, and ended up almost getting on a 3-day psych hold. But luckily I could talk myself out of that. But like, I was all paranoid at one point in my room, like holed up, and like security was like, you need to leave that room, because my friend was pissed at me because I had done some stupid shit at DEF CON that year that I shouldn't have done. And I was nerve wracked, man, without like no social engineering like ability left, because like I'm naturally an introvert. I had to work hard to become an extrovert and like want to go socialize and do that. And I still need to recharge my batteries, and my batteries were burnt. But I was now going to the psych ward, and I was not going to be on a 72-hour hold with a flight the next day. So I grabbed an actual security shirt, and I had green hair at this time and a mohawk from DEF CON. And I put like the security shirt under my arm, because I know they're going to put me in like a vest in the hospital. And I get there, and I had actually wearing shorts under my pants anyway, instead of underwear, because I had no clean underwear left. So I'm wearing like shorts, and now I changed into their garb, and I'm about to get the doctor to come interview me, and I washed the green crap out of my hair. I switched into the security guard shirt that I had underneath my stuff, and I went up to the orderly, and I'm like, I was wearing a security guard shirt. He didn't recognize I was like one of the people from the ward. I'm like, I need you to let me out. You know, let me through. I forgot my ID card. And they opened the door, and I got all the way to the lobby before a bunch of guys came and tackled me and brought me back to the psych ward. And then luckily my brother, who sells Palo Alto at the time, was in Vegas for Black Hat, and they just released me to his custody. And then I got to go home and go back to doing stupid shit in New York. But like, it was nerve wracking, mind you.
Any other scary stories? Anything where you're like, oh no, I went too far?
Yeah. So when it comes to the I've gone too far stories, that one I just told is probably the worst one, honestly. I have done other like real hardcore fails when I'm trying to do stupid shit like sneaking. So here's one that actually worked out well in the end, though. Me and my friend Patrick used to go sneak into movies in New York, and like we go to movie theater in the morning and go all day to like see every movie that was in these theaters. And they started doing like assigned seats, so it got a little harder. And we go see this Indiana Jones marathon, and we actually were going to buy a ticket for it, but they told us they were sold out. At least they told him. And he had printed out like the list of all the movie showtimes for this Indiana Jones marathon. And like, so I had a piece of paper with like the movie theater's logo and other things on it. And I started by talking to the lady behind the ticketing counter, and I'm like, this is nonsense. We paid for tickets online. I have my receipt right here. We drove all the way from New Jersey for 2.5 hours. Meanwhile, it was like a train ride for 45 minutes to come here today to check out this Indiana Jones marathon. My friend here is one of the biggest Indiana Jones fans. And this is appalling that you guys don't have our tickets in your system. And he's like, sir, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, and I'm sorry if I was a little rude to that lady over there. He's like, no, it's okay. It's understandable. Here. He gives me like the VIP press pass thing that they have left over, even though I was not saying I was pressed at any point. And like a ticket for like free popcorn and soda for me and my friend, and like a thing to come back to their movie theater another time. And I was just being a Karen, like without legitimacy, and it worked really well. And but then we decided to use the pass to come back another time, and that guy had at this point looked through the system and realized I didn't belong there the first time. And he was like, you lied to me. I'm like, dude, I'm really sorry, but I wanted to go see Indiana Jones really bad. And he's like, don't do it again. I'm like, okay, I won't. And then I continued to movie hop there for like the next 3 years, every freaking weekend. But yeah, man, it hurts a little bit when you lie to somebody and they catch you too. Like when I know somebody too, it's really hard for me to like lie to somebody who I know and have a relationship with. But when it comes to a stranger, I have no problem making up whatever bullshit I need to do. So it's just weird, autish stuff like that, you know?
So if you're faking a badge, like for one of those conferences where they want to scan your QR code and spam you as vendors, blah, blah, blah. Have you ever abused that? With
Yeah,
a fake
man,
badge?
I will literally just take a picture of somebody else's QR code, either on site or on Twitter, and put it on my badge. And 90% of the time, they're not checking the name is matching what is there. So it just scans to get you into stuff. People might be wondering how somebody has attended like multiple talks at the same time if they're scanning them at the door, but it still generally works anyway. And one stupid thing I did for a while was if like they're using Eventbrite, I would make an event that had the same name and same information in it on Eventbrite and set it private. And then I'd show up and I'd be like, here, scan my thing. And they go to scan it and it wouldn't be like in their system, but it would say Eventbrite and it would be in the Eventbrite app. And they'd be like, oh, there must be some glitch. And they just let me through.
Do you ever notice that like at certain conferences, the culture is just too formal or like not casual enough for you to actually fake it because the people there just aren't, they're just not that casual about it. And so it's like more of a strict environment.
I have wasted time social engineering my way into conferences when I was like, this is boring as shit, and why am I here? Like one time there was this one that Frank Abagnale was talking at in Las Vegas, and like I saw Catch Me If You Can, so I wanted to meet Frank Abagnale, whatever. So like I got into this conference, which was 4 people involved in detecting counterfeit IDs in real life and with a fake badge, and I was like, this is freaking awesome. But they were all like boring Fed people, and like there was no fun going on and nobody socializing, and everybody's like on their phone in between talks and nobody was talking. And I'm like, I have wasted time coming here today. And I didn't even get to meet Frank Abagnale. He was like, I missed this talk. It was the day before and I came the second day. So I was like, this sucks, man. So like I just left. But I take some swag though. That was some cool swag. Like they had this thing that was supposed to like detect RFID skimmers like as a keychain. It didn't work very well, but it was still cool swag.
Dude, this was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Round of applause.
Appreciate it.